and his wife died at Wolf 359. And
right.
he blames Picard, even though logically he knows Picard had no control, he still blames Picard. So I do think that's a cool way to kind of tie in Deep Space Nine to Star Trek Next Generation.
Cool, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Forgot that detail.
So our final scene here is Picard and Riker in the ready room. Picard has like super band-aids on his head because their band-aid technology is light years ahead of ours. Riker tells him that they're going to need about 5 to 6 weeks of like repairs at McKinley Station. We do get kind of a funny moment where someone like buzzes the door and they both say "come," which is pretty funny.
2 captains. Oh no.
My 2 captains. Da 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 da. It's a new show, kids. My 2 captains. So Shelby comes in. She requests permission to disembark, and she basically has been, I guess you could say, promoted because she is now heading up the task force that will rebuild the fleet. She says they'll have the fleet up in a year. Exciting times for her. She's moved on doing important work, rebuilding the fleet.
She's getting that commission that she wanted.
Mm-hmm. Indeed she is. And then, she kind of tells Riker, I bet you'll have your choice of any commission you want. And this is really where we see Riker come full circle because he basically is very confident and he says, I appreciate everybody who's so worried about my career, but guess what? It's none your business.
And your business.
And I will... Exactly. And he's like, I'll worry about my career. Don't worry. And everyone's like, cool beans, bro. You do you. And so then Riker and Shelby leave, and Picard pauses as he's drinking his tea, and he goes and he just kind of stares out the window, and we can only imagine what kind of stuff he's thinking about.
Yeah.
If he remembers everything from being part of the Borg, he remembers all the horrible things that he participated in. Of course, unwillingly, he was forced to do it. We know that. But certainly in the next episode, which we will be reviewing next week, and you guys will be hearing a good friend of ours, Brian from Pop Culture Leftovers, will join us for that. We talk about exactly that, as Picard now needs to emotionally heal after physically healing, from the attack from the Borg kidnapping him. So that's our episode, Best of Both Worlds Part 2. So here's a question, since this is a 2-parter. Did you feel like Part 2 delivered a good payoff to the setup in Part 1? Janine, what would you say?
Yes and no. Watching it again, I'm kind of feels a bit like the rescue of Picard happened pretty quick. Based on the buildup of turning him into a Borg and trying to rescue him, and just sort of the mental play that went on with trying to outsmart him, being that he knows so much about Starfleet and all their plans. It was a bit like, Data plugged into the port. They downloaded everything that he knew, and then, Picard was able to break free. So it felt like a little quick, but at the same time, there was a lot of tension in this episode because it's they were basically chasing the Borg, and without that link that Picard allowed them to establish, they never would have been able to slow down the cube at all. So there was a lot of tension. There was basically this feeling of the Enterprise was never going to catch up with them, and that Earth was basically doomed. I felt like it happened a little quick, but I still enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Brooke, how about you?
Yeah, I also think it kind of wrapped up a little quickly, but it was also pretty good because we've got this during mission with Worf and Data, the odd couple going to get Picard and all that. It's it does seem like, oh hey, look, we got him, we figured it out, and look, now he's fine. The last 10 minutes, it's kind of maybe we didn't necessarily have to see him bandaged up or whatever, but we also got the whole him and Riker both in the ready room and like, you know, being like, come, you know. So that was kind of funny. But I would certainly watch this episode over a lot of other episodes of other shows. Just even by itself, because it's better than some shows, just, you know, even without the first part. But I think the first part is better than the second part. I think watching them together is great.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I keep hearkening on this 3 months thing, and it's like, now the way I watch TV shows, I would see the second part and be like, oh, but I think if I had had it then, I would have still been like, oh my gosh, you know, and it, you know, after all of that waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think in today's world of 2019, you have the option to watch part one and then immediately watch part two. And I think when you watch them together as a complete story, I think it's really good. I think, you know, back in the day in the 90s when we had to wait the 3 months for the second part to come out, you know, we were so excited to see what was going to happen. We were so nervous. I think at the time you forgive a lot of the flaws, you know, and you say, even though, it does wrap up quickly in the 45 minutes, but at the same time, you're like so relieved that they get Picard. You're like, oh, thank God, you know, I'm not ready to say I don't want to say goodbye to Picard. Like, he's amazing. I think for me, I think it does pay off. I thought it was a really interesting point that the Borg only sent one ship. If the Borg, I felt like this in hindsight, is the Borg testing us out. Because if they really wanted to invade, they would have sent the entire armada. They would have sent every Borg ship they had. Right. But they didn't.
And we don't
they sent one.
We don't really know at this time how many there are anyway. So it could just be one, but that would be silly for them to just have one, even though it was full of drones, you know? I mean, it would be ridiculous for them to just have one. But, yeah, like, you know, at this time we really have no idea because this one's the same dimensions as the last one they saw. So, yeah, that means it's just one. An army of one. Yeah,
but I think for sure, like, and of course at this point it's true. At this point in the series and in the franchise, we don't know if there are more ships. We assume that there must be because what civilization has one? What civilization has one ship of people and that's it. The thing is that they send this one ship, and I think in their mind they thought this was going to be the easiest conquer ever. So they send this one ship, they kidnap Picard, they make him their mouthpiece, and basically for them they think this is all smooth sailing. But they don't count on how, as most aliens in Star Trek find out, they don't count on how reckless humans can be, and how we don't play by the rules when the stakes are so high. Because Riker doesn't play by the rules here. Riker does take big chances, right? He puts the entire saucer section in danger to rescue one person, which is not a logical thing to do.
The person.
The person.
Oh, sorry.
His person. It's true.
He's his person.
But so for me, I think it's a good payoff. I like it as a complete story, and I think if you're going to go this step further, watch the next episode, Family, for a real complete story to see how good. I'm glad you
listen to us talk about it.
Exactly.
I will do that too.
So before we say goodnight, Janine, we ask all of our guests, what are you hoping to see in the Picard series? Alternatively, are there things that you hope will not be in the Picard series?
Ooh. I guess I'm really hoping, just based on the trailers that I've seen so far, is I really enjoyed actually the episodes of Star Trek where Picard was on Earth with his family and his brother, and like I would love to see more of like what Picard has been doing, you know, after Starfleet. I definitely don't want too many Next Generation people to come back and for it to be like each episode is sort of like another visitor, like another person from the past revisiting.
It's like they come in on screen and then you hear a studio audience scream.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's like,
oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't like
that from the trailer, the first trailer where he pulls open that drawer and it's like, oh, is that before? Or could it possibly be Data, even though he was blown to smithereens? Anyway, and then it just starts talking to him. Hello, Captain.
Yeah, it's like I really enjoyed when Picard was just shown as human, you know? I would love to see a lot of that and explore the humanity of Picard, because I think that those were some of my favorite episodes. So I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, is make it maybe a bit of a mystery, because, you know, there's that girl and you don't know what she's about, and like what exactly is going to bring him back into Starfleet, but also what has Picard been doing? You know, what's his humanity? I want to really see that explored.
Cool. All right. Good answer.
Yeah,
Good answer.
I think, just from watching so much of this in a row, like, to me, most of the episodes are Picard-esque episodes. Like, there's some that focus on other people, but it's just because Patrick Stewart is so good at this part, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Even in the worst episodes, he's almost always, like, spot on and just giving it all he's got. It's just quite the thing to behold, I think. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. A lot of, well, I think the reason why Jean-Luc Picard is such a beloved character has a whole lot to do with how good Patrick Stewart is as an actor. Mm-hmm. Without him, obviously, you don't have Picard, you don't have the series and all that. But, yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing Sir Patrick Stewart again doing his thing, playing a character that we all love. So, Janine, I found you incredibly interesting and delightful to talk to. Where can our listeners interact with you on the interwebs if they feel the same way?
I'm so sorry, because you guys are sisters. I just imagined you, after you said that, they were going to say, for the first time in your life. No.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It's like,
not wrong.
For the first time in 38 years. I find you very interesting. It would be terrible.
She's not wrong.
She would be wrong.
I'm not a regular on any podcast. I like Q. I just show up randomly here and there. So just, you know, keep a lookout for me on podcasts.
And you take people on adventures when you do it?
Yes. I snap my fingers and I change your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, yeah.
Go ahead,
I'm not super active on Twitter, so honestly don't even bother. But you can find me on Instagram as purple_thunder0114, where I'm very funny and share a lot of dad jokes. That's pretty much where you're going to find me 90% of the time.
All righty. You're going to hear first, folks. Purple_thunder0114?
Yep.
Okay. I do follow you, but I don't know your Instagram name because I've just been following you for so long.
I know. It used to be one thing, but I changed it because it just had too many haters.
Well, you know, haters gonna hate. Just brush off the haters, just like Beyonce said. So I think Beyonce said that. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for joining us on this special 2-parter. Tune in next week for the next episode. And I've been Rebekah.
And I've been Brooke.
And until we talk to you again, continue boldly going where no one has gone before.
The Picardcast is hosted by Rebekah and Brooke. You can find us at facebook.com/Picardcast, on twitter.com @ThePicardcast, or email us at picardcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and boldly go where no one has gone before.